Welcome to Story Comic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 417. I'm your host, Barney Smith of StoryComic.com, and we're excited to have with us the acclaimed and internationally celebrated author of Leadership Bites, Ian McCoog.
Well, thank you, Barney. That was far too nice. And I guess if your book sells in other countries, therefore you are internationally acclaimed, I suppose.
So as of this recording, this is being recorded on January 28th, and this is technically the release day of Leadership Bites.
Yeah, today is the day. We've gone through the gauntlet of pre-orders and all of the marketing that goes into a release day. And yeah, I had a lot of nice messages saying happy book birthday. So yeah, today has been a big day. I'd like to say celebrated more, but I went to work and I came home, and talking to you is the big celebration.
Wait, see, there you go. See, it's a good bookend here. It's a bookend. See, this is great to actually have go to work, be on a podcast. You're able to get your books in. And so let's jump right in, Ian, and just kind of like talk about your inspiration. So what inspired you to write Leadership Bites?
So I always knew I wanted to write a book, and I wasn't exactly sure what it would be. I did some creative writing over the past few years, just kind of as practice and just kind of, playing around. And ultimately, what I fell on was this course that I teach at the medical school where I work, which is on leadership. So we help aspiring physicians get comfortable leading teams and collaborating with other people. And the way that a colleague and I do that is we picked 5 leadership theories, and we just did a quick little video cast. So the students watch the video cast on the leadership theories, and then we have them write reflections. And I realized after reading the students' reflections and thinking about, having to choose 5 out of the multiple that I like, that maybe this is my book, in part because there were a lot of leadership theories that I want to get out there and I wanted to talk about, but more so because I was realizing that storytelling and the notion that we are our stories is something that is intriguing to me, and I thought others would want to read. So even though this book says Leadership Bites, it is a theory. It is a theory of leadership book. So if you're interested in leadership, absolutely pick it up. But it's a collection of short stories as well, and they really span, art, education, music, psychology, some of my own experiences of others, and I'm really happy with how it came.
What's interesting about the book itself, which is about leadership, everybody has interacted with a leader of some sorts throughout their career and throughout their lives. Can you talk a little bit about your own personal experiences and how that kind of influenced your own views on leadership?
Sure. I come at it really from an academic sense. So I do have a doctorate in educational leadership. A lot of that dealt with organizational management, leading a college and a university, leading a K-12 environment. I was a teacher for 13 years before I went back to school and landed as a professor at the medical school. And really, I came to medicine without much of a medical background. Well, any, actually. My mom was a nurse. That was about as much as I had. And I kind of thought, well, what do they want me for? I'm not exactly sure why they, chose me to interview and why they decided to hire me. And what I realized was that medicine really is obviously a science, obviously bedside manner, something that's very important. But then there are all of those other things. And those other things are, finding humanity in the person that you're speaking to, thinking about factors that might affect why they are doing the things that they're doing, seeking out care or not seeking out care. And then the part where I really come in is this notion that you are the doctor, you are the MD, you are probably the most highly trained person on the team, but that doesn't mean you're always right. You have to work with, your nurses and your PAs and your patients. And how do we lead teams in ways that are going to get to that humanity and help people be their best?
How did you integrate narrative storytelling into your teaching of leadership?
Sure. So there was this whole world out there that I was not aware of. It's called narrative-based medicine. So that was another part. As I was kind of learning the medical part of medical education, I thought, well, I'm never going to be an immunologist. I'm never going to be a pharmacologist. I'm never going to understand how these drugs interact with each other or what diagnostic tests that we order, nor would I be expected to. Um, However, I used that background that I had, and I signed up for a graduate certificate in narrative-based medicine through the University of Toronto. And the two folks that ran the courses, one is a clinical social worker, and the other one is a novelist. Um,
Huh.
so it was really cool to kind of get both of those perspectives of someone who understood patients from a real, humanities perspective, and then someone who could kind of take their amazing creativity and blend it into that environment and that work.
How do you think your leadership theories have evolved over the years then?
In writing this book, I really had to take a hard look um, with a very critical eye towards the leadership theories that I had learned about. Initially, when I first wrote this book, it was theories, and then it was like concepts. And when the editor first looked at it, she said, I wouldn't take that approach. I
Hmm.
would go chronologically and just stick to theory. So that's what I did. And not only did it make a better book because it kind of follows and you see these first theories that weren't really great ideas, things like, well, there are traits of leaders. You're born with these traits, and if you don't have them, tough luck.
Hmm.
And then we moved into kind of like behaviorism from a psychology perspective. Well, there are behaviors of people who make good leaders. How do we identify and foster those behaviors? And then ultimately, no spoiler here at the end, it all comes down to emotions. It comes
Hmm.
down to people responding to the emotions and the vibes and the positivity or the negativity that you put out as someone who people are trying to follow. Um, and I thought there was no better way to tell that than by telling human stories that went along with the concepts that you would learn about if you came to it from a leadership perspective. But also, if you come to it from a human perspective, some of these stories are just good stories.
Hmm. So, can you share a story from your book that particularly resonates with that theme of growth and reflection then?
Yeah, absolutely. One that comes from the top of my head is actually near the end of the book. We start talking about vulnerable leadership, which is a theory that was even just put out in 2024. And it's this notion that by showing you're a human being and you have real human emotions, people will then, your followers, your employees, will relate to that humanness to see that you're a person just like they are. Um, and that kind of builds that not only trust, but also the want to follow that
Hmm.
person. So there are 8 principles of vulnerable leadership and how to do it well and how to not do it well. And they're all in the book if you want to read it, if you want to read that part. But another portion that goes along with it is the story. And I tell the story of a boy named Jim. And Jim is growing up in Lancaster, California. He kind of gets on his bike every day and drives around all day because he doesn't want to be home. His father's dealing with alcoholism. His mother's dealing with mental health issues stemming from the father's alcoholism. So he just drives around town on his bike. Uh, but one thing that he really enjoys is magic. So he pulls up to the strip mall, and lo and behold, there's a magic shop there that he had never seen before. So he goes into the magic shop. He befriends the owner's mother, who is tending the shop for a few weeks. And she says, if you come back every day and if you teach this magic to someone else, I promise I'm going to teach you a new magic trick every day. Um, so lo and behold, he comes every day and we're learning these things. And really, what the woman is teaching Jim is how to regulate his emotions, how to view himself as a good person. Um, so this is CBT therapy, but he doesn't realize that that's what's going on. Um, and then we take another little twist and turn. So Jim's older. He's going to high school. He's not sure where he wants to go. He wants to go to college. What he wants to do. He ends up becoming a doctor, despite the fact that his grades were pretty bad. And bad enough that his university committee didn't want to write him a letter of recommendation because they said it would be a waste of time. He got accepted to one medical school, did exceptionally well, became a very successful surgeon, and then repaid that medical school by endowing the dean's position. It was at Tulane right after Hurricane Katrina. So I tell this story, and it's a great story, and it's a true story. This is Dr. James Doty, who's an amazing guy. And then we kind of flip it at the end, and then I enter. And I enter at a conference in 2019 where Dr. Doty is giving a talk, and he stops, and he chokes up. And he has to kind of take a deep breath and compose himself. And I thought to myself, like, man, we are hanging on this guy's every word, and he cares about this so much that, he's going to shed a tear, like, during this talk, because he realizes how important this is and how important the work is that he does. And I had never seen that before. I was honestly taken aback, thinking, like, man. But when he talks about it, when he comes back and kind of talks about, I'm sorry about that, he says that after one speaking engagement, a psychiatrist came up to him and said, "Oh my gosh, you must be mortified. I can help you with that if you would like." Just kind of missing the point of, no, it's okay. Like, it's okay to be your true self, no matter what the setting is, because it draws people to you. They see you as genuine. They don't see you as fake. You become someone that they want to emulate and they want to follow, because you are so true to yourself and you care so much about whatever it is that you're talking about or trying to achieve.
Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. And thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us. So how do you think leadership theories have evolved over the years then?
One of the first leadership theories that was put out there in the 1880s is the misnomer of great man theory. And the theorist who put it out has a famous quote that goes something along the lines of, "History is nothing but the story of great men." So, George Washington and Shakespeare and Napoleon, like, that's all leadership is. So not only is that incredibly sexist by today's standards, it's also completely false. But you have to start somewhere. And the story I kind of pair with that is the same thing of maybe our science isn't so scientific when we start. And we have to see how things evolve, and we have to get better little by little. So really, that is where it starts. It starts with this notion that, history is just the story of great men, and goes to, well, are there identifiable traits for good leaders that we can find? That's going to be like in the 1930s. And then we have all the Cold War theories of, like, well, how do we get people to do the things that we want them to do? So we kind of jump into behaviorist psychology. So throughout the 20th century, that's kind of where we are. And then by the 90s, we start to see this idea that there is no best style. The best thing we can do as someone who manages an organization is to respond to what's happening around us. And that idea that we're responding with the best possible course of action kind of leads us into this idea of it's really not about the leader. It's about the followers. It's about the employees. It's about the people that are doing the work and how motivated they are and how valued they feel. And that takes us into some of the really modern ones that, you know, my favorite is Resident Leadership, which Daniel Goleman put out. He's the father of emotional intelligence. And the resonant part of it is like you put out the vibes. They better be good, because if they're bad, people are going to pick up on the bad and they're going to feel bad. Uh, Compare that to, you know, great man theory in the 1880s, where they say, oh no, it's just you're born with it or you're not. I mean, it's quite a stark, you know, transition.
Right. So, what advice would you give someone aspiring to become a leader in their field?
Well, I think you always have to be open. You have to be true to yourself. You have to realize that there's that notion of fake it till you make it. But you're not genuine if you're just trying to fake it to get people to, you know, to follow along, to do the things that you want them to do in a positive manner. You know, to me, leadership is exerting influence and to create positivity. I mean, those are the two portions of it for me. Can you be a leader and create negativity? Sure, you can, but I don't think that's I don't think that's a place that we want to be. So I think you have to be honest with yourself. You have to reflect upon your own experience and your own journey, and really, you have to do it when the timing is right. It's one of the things that we talk about near the end of the book about, and one of the advanced reviews I got said, like, that was a very stark comment, and they really appreciated that the focus shouldn't be on climb the ladder, climb the ladder, climb the ladder. You have to do the things that you can do, and you have to recognize when is the time to do them and when is the time to, you know, to not do them. When do we chop the wood? When do we sharpen the axe? When do we, you know, reap? When do we sow? And if you're not keenly aware of where you are in the situation and keenly aware of who you are, those two things don't line up and you're not going to be successful.
That was going to be my question for you. Of what were some misconceptions of leadership that you addressed, but you answered that. So it brings me to my other question then is, where do you see the future of leadership and its theories evolving in the next few years or several years?
Yeah, I'm very happy that I'm alive in the era where we've gotten to a place of kind of putting the power to the people. I'm a nice guy by nature, and it was one of the things that I considered when I started writing this book. Like, am I a little too nice for my own good? Like, but I feel like maybe we've just gotten to a place now where if the focus isn't on me, if the focus is on the people that I serve, then they're going to be more productive because they are a collection of people. I'm just one person. I'm not here to stroke my ego. I'm not here to feel powerful. I'm here to help everybody else get the best out of themselves because that's what's going to be best for the organization. And when I say organization, I mean, really, this can be anything. I think this book oftentimes gets classified as business. And, you know, sometimes business leaders want to say like, hey, would you come talk to us? And, you know, I'll talk to anybody. But it's really not about competition and conflict and making money. It's about helping people be their best so that whatever organization it is that you're running, it can be a business, it can be a nonprofit, it can be a higher education school, it could be a Cub Scout troop or a sewing circle. It's helping people be their best to do the best for the group.
Do you have any other future projects or books that focus on the field of leadership now?
Well, I think I have too many ideas, and we'll kind of see where that goes. The big thing I've been working on for the past few years is at my school, we have an oral history project.
Hmm.
where we interview retired healthcare practitioners, and it's incredible. I just am kind of the glue that facilitates the conversation between the medical student and the retired physician or nurse practitioner, whoever it is. And I get to see this like beautiful and amazing passing of the torch of sharing the wisdom about the profession and then saying, here it is, it's yours now. um, so my research team has been incredible. We're in the last year data collection for that, and my research mentee, Jordan Salvato, you can look him up. Jordan has to do something academic with it, but I've said to him I would love to do a nonfiction narrative from the research that we've done. So that's there. However, in the meantime, because I can't stop writing. I can't be like I can't grow moss. I have to keep rolling. I dipped into my creative side, and I do have a 60,000 word speculative fiction that will be done pretty soon. And to the story comic audience, it's baseball. I love baseball, but it takes place in Montpelier, Vermont. So we will see what becomes
Cool.
of my little novel.
Yeah. Excellent. And I bet you know a publishing place that might help you out with that too.
Yeah, I mean, it just so happens to be one like in town around the corner who publish Leadership Bites, who might be interested in taking a look at it. So yeah, we're beating around the bush, but Rootstock
Yeah.
Publishing is the publisher of Leadership Bites.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful working with Samantha and her team. I really can't say enough. Just the professionalism, the amazing like marketing that they've done for this book. The last couple of days we've been watching the Amazon charts, and I'm like, are you serious? Like, we're ranking on Amazon with this little silly book I wrote about leadership and short stories. And a large part of it was Rootstock gave me the tools and said, here, it's going to go as far as you want it to go. So I started pounding the pavement and, calling everybody I knew and hitting social media. And before you knew it, this thing was taking off.
So Ian, if people want to learn more about you and your book, where is the best place they could go to?
Yeah, so my website is the easiest. It's just my name. It's ianmccoog.com. It's on the screen there. You can order Leadership Bites there. You can check out some of the other stuff that I'm up to. Always happy to talk to people about potential projects that they're working on that I can help them with, or things that they would be interested in me getting involved with. Like I said, I am a professor full time, so that's kind of my focus. But I love doing this kind of stuff, so I am happy to collaborate with anybody who's interested.
Well, hey, Ian, thank you so much for coming on, and you'll have to come back on when you get your second book out then.
Well, I mean, nothing says Vermont like minor league baseball, right, Barney?
There you go. All right, thank you so much.
Cool, thank you. Thanks for having me.
I love a wood stove. It's like there's so much good radiant heat coming out of it, and there's something so much more pure with a wood stove. Wood heat just makes it cozy almost, and then you're gonna and there's something about it that's just you got to feed the fire. You got there like there's as you say there's that's one of the things I love about the winter. And did you ever put? My parents used to put orange peels on top of the stove. Did you ever do that?
That's a good idea. So
Yeah.
we currently have a little cast iron pan, and then we put a soup can with water in it so it's not as dry.
Yeah.
I could definitely lay some orange peels on that cast iron. That would be nice.
Yeah, and then it kind of makes that there's some scent coming off of